everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Inside Scoop. I'm Lori Dubois, and today I'm going to be talking with Beth Klepper from Mainstream Video Productions. And I will let her introduce herself in just a minute, but I wanted to say that we are talking about video today. And so I know that is a hot topic. That is not really my jam. So I'm super happy that Beth is here. And I know a lot of us struggle with, should we even use videos? Is it too much of a pain in the neck? Is it too expensive? All these kind of questions. And so hopefully we can go through some of those, maybe kind of calm some of our anxiety about it and learn some stuff. So Beth, I am so happy that you're here, and I would like to give you a few minutes to introduce yourself.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm very happy to be here. I love talking about all things video, so this is a great space for me. Just to give everyone a little background on why I, am credible to talk about this. So I have a video production company, as you mentioned, Mainstream Video Production, and we've been in business since 2014. And we have done, about, I think, 150 different companies, and then over 15, probably more like 1,800 video projects.
Wow.
So we've been working with businesses for the last 7 years doing a lot of video content. Before that, I worked for a television network doing videos. I worked in the music and entertainment department for about 8 years. It was a national cable network. So that's where I got my start as far as production goes and learning the medium. And then before that, I actually went to school. I have a master's degree in film theory.
Oh,
and
really?
Studied media at Colorado State University. That was my undergrad. So, and then that gets me back to, I'm actually going backwards in this story. My childhood, I always loved it. I love video. I always was completely moved by it and wanted to work in it in some capacity, and then made my way to where we are today.
Oh, that's awesome. So were you that little kid, little neighborhood kid who was always like taking pictures and directing productions and all that stuff?
100,000%. Yes. And I actually, one of our videos that we have on our website has actual footage of me as the neighborhood kid, creating my first films.
That is so awesome. So it's truly in your blood.
Truly in my blood. I wasn't just saying that I'm excited to talk about it. I am so excited about it. I love every facet of it. I love thinking about why it matters so much, why it has such of an impact, and then just helping people get more comfortable using it, especially in their business.
Yeah, that's awesome. Oh, yeah. I love that. I love that story. That's great. Okay, well, we're going to dive right into some questions and see where we go. So first of all, I was just wondering if you could kind of throw some stats at us. Like, I know video is important, but it's like, what is it that's telling us, that social proof that says people are paying attention to video?
It's funny. So statistics are interesting. Every time I go and do a new presentation or try to get around to statistics, I learn a little something new about just how statistics are taking and how people think about video as it relates to a content strategy specifically. Because I think a lot of your audience here is business owners. Is that fair to say?
Yes. Yeah.
So, video, depending on where the video is going to go, has a total different, it has a different goal based on where the video is going to go. So where the video is going to go. So as I mentioned, I worked for a television network. So we had a trafficking department that worked with our content and programming department that would tell us, hey, at 9 o'clock, you have this slot. We need to make a video that's this long, has this content, go to work. In business, most of us maybe don't think about that as much as we should. So I say all of this to say, when we think about statistics, they're grouping every different kind of video. So video ads, video content, video blogs, if someone has a video show, that all gets thrown into these numbers.
Sure.
So taking that with a grain of salt. But that said, the engagement that happens on any sort of post, any sort of content with video is just through the roof. So just a couple of quick ones to throw at you. Some studies say that you including a video in an email with just video in the subject can increase the click-through rate to 200 to 300%.
Whoa.
So and that's a big one, and that probably changes over time. And of course, what's the sample size? Who did they talk to? What does that look like?
Sure.
But even if it's a quarter true, like, that tells you a lot. And I can say anecdotally and, statistically, when we include videos in our emails, we always get a better open rate. That always performs better than when we don't use video.
Right.
The biggest one I think that people really should be taking advantage of is that landing pages with a video on it have an 80% higher conversion rate. So I look at conversions as anything when you're trying to get anyone to do anything. So if you're trying to get people to give you an email, trying to get people to call you, that's a conversion. Including a video will give you an 80% edge.
Wow.
And of course, there's a lot of variables that go into that stat. But again, even if that one's a quarter true, that's a huge advantage. So any landing page you're making, anytime you're trying to get people to opt in, call you, take some affirmative action, you've got to have a video. This one I think is really also, I mean, these numbers are just so staggering. 64, after watching a video, 64% of users are more likely to buy a product or service. So videos on a product or service page, which again, and if we start to dial down and think about why that's true, right? If you go on Amazon and you're looking at something and you can't, does that really do what it does? Or is that going to show up? And you see a video, a picture speaks 1,000 words, a video speaks 100,000 words. So it's just making it that much clearer. And then the last one I have for you, I could throw statistics at you all day, so I'll just give you a couple more. 75% of executives watch work-related videos on a weekly basis. So big decision makers are using video to make decisions, and that's just another thing you want to remember. And then this is the last one, I promise. If you put video on website, people are on average are going to spend 88% more time. Wow. And again, it's just because we can get so much done in a video. I think what excites me about video is that it's the most efficient way to communicate. As I mentioned, my background is in film and film theory. And so I feel like what I really am interested in is communication and how messages are sent and received. I just believe video is the most powerful tool that we could possibly use. Okay. So you can watch, we have a video that we have on our website, and I do this in all of my presentations. I gave you an introduction of who I am and what I do in my background. I have a video that does it in about 1.5 minutes. It shows my master's degree. It shows all my team members that work for me. It shows, projects that we've done. You were showing, you were telling, you are giving people everything in such a short amount of time. So naturally, they're going to be more likely to click on a video because they just know that experience is going to happen.
Yeah.
So I threw a lot at you. You said throw a stat.
No, it's amazing. I think it's amazing. And when you say things like 80% higher conversion rate, even if it was 8%, holy cow, that would be worth it, right? 64%, even if it was 6%, it would be so worth it. So
give yourself that edge.
Yeah, I think we all know that. I don't know why we don't want to think about, I do know why we don't want to think about it. It's probably because we don't want to make them. We don't want to be in them, all those things, but yet we know they work and we use them. So I think it comes back to when it works on us, it's going to work on somebody else. That's right.
That's right. And I'm one of those people, when I sell videos, and I'm a marketing person, so I know it's important to say, in these 3 easy ways to do something. That said, video is not necessarily a quick thing to do. So let's take the landing page example. So what I like about that statistic and how I teach this, or if I ever present about it, is, okay, you have a landing page where you're asking somebody to do something. That tells you what video to make, which is always the first question that people ask me all the time is, what video should I actually make? Well, you could make 1 million. So I think people get really overwhelmed by, what kind of content should I have? And I'd like to do this series of frequently asked questions, or maybe I have some testimonials or case studies. And those are all great ideas. But if you start thinking about it like that, you're just never going to get to that. What's 1, 2, 3? What's the next step? So if you think about the landing page video and you think, okay, I'm going to make that video, then you know exactly where the video is going to go. It's going to go on that landing page. You're going to know exactly what the message needs to be, because it's specifically about that action you're asking them to take on that landing page, right? It's not all about your company, or it's not all these case studies, or it's not all these FAQs. It's this one message that you're trying to get across. Then I think that makes it a little bit easier to say, okay, so that's the video I'm going to make. This is where it's going to go. This is why and how I want it to perform. And then you can start thinking about the creativity and actually being on camera and doing all of that. But I think the problem is that it is a lot to think about, and it can become overwhelming really quickly.
Sure. Yeah. But that's a really good tip. It's like this one video in this one moment does one thing.
That's right.
It needs to do one thing.
100%.
When you mentioned a few minutes ago about video is the most efficient way, that made me think about, people have different learning styles, right? Either they're, visual or, auditory. Is that why they're more efficient, or why are videos more efficient? Just because you can pack more in less time?
I think there's really two reasons that videos are more efficient, and it depends on the kind of video. I mean, we've all seen very bad videos, and the one thing is that, and why I think anecdotally why I love it so much, is because you are combining story, music, visuals all together to form this new medium. So if you're writing a blog, you maybe just have story. Now maybe you've got a couple pictures in it, but then you don't have music and you're not moving it with the editing. So it's getting all of these different communication devices together in one. And then some studies say, again, I'm a little bit skeptical about studies, obviously. I think you've probably seen that as I've talked, but upwards of 70, 80, 90% of communication meaning is actually generated non-verbally. So the words just don't mean as much as we think they do. What means so much is our tone of voice, right? We know the difference between, I mean, this is why emojis were invented, right? So we know the difference between making a phone call and just hearing somebody, and then seeing someone's facial expression, their gestures, their general energy. All of that is how we develop trust and connection, and video lets you do that. Video makes that possible to have that through time and space. So that's also why it's efficient.
Good point. And I'm noticing, because you're doing it and I do it as well, I speak with my hands, I gesture all the time. Sometimes the Zoom camera freaks out at that, but it's like, and you can watch a video and you can see when somebody gets excited about something, right? So
all that translates to meaning and makes that connection and actually gets that message sent, the message you're trying to send.
Very good point. So, okay, so that makes me think of something else, Beth, and that is, if it's so efficient and I can be on video and then people see when I get excited and I'm, doing all these things, that also means people are seeing me doing all these things. And I don't know that I like that so much. So it's like, I don't, for me, it's been more difficult to get into doing video just because I don't want to see myself. So is that only me, or is that like a problem?
No. I'm glad you brought that up, because the one thing I have to say is, so not only you, it is the most common objection that people will say out loud, or the thing that they will never say, but is the true reason they're not making videos. And it's interesting because as I mentioned, my background in video, I worked at a television network. So the only people I ever worked with that were on camera, went to school to be on camera, loved to be on camera, loved seeing themselves on camera. So it was quite jarring to then come to business and see that most people actually aren't trained for that, don't love it, and are terrified of it. There's a lot of different ways. I mean, I think we talked about this before we started recording. Really, the only way out is through. There's no substitution for practice in anything, right? Skiing is hard, and I could give you some tips on skiing, but truly, you're just going to have a couple bad days on the mountain where the boots are heavy and it's just awkward before you feel like you know what you're doing and it's not the most terrifying thing in the world. And that's true. That's just true with video. The only way, like I'm sure you've now done this a couple of times, it's just easier, period. You're just not as shocked by your own shock, right? You're just not, it's like, oh my gosh, look at my hair. It's like, yeah, I've seen
I look like that. Oh, and then you just think like, oh, that's how I look, right?
That's how I look, right? So, always practice. That's the thing that I think is really important. Just do it, get it out. Like, the hard thing is just the hard thing. But from there's lots of other things you can do. You can work with a media coach or a trainer, or you could film some of your own practice videos and just start to see what you feel and look like, ask someone to look at it and make some recommendations. You can get a makeup artist. You can, bring in different people to make sure you look and feel the best that you can, that you're the most prepared that you can be. That helps, do several takes, practice it. I think mindset wise, the biggest tip I have for the mindset is that most people that are in business development, let's say, salespeople trying to grow their business, those are the people that are typically interested in doing video. They know that the more people that they can get in front of, the more face-to-face meetings they can take, the more networking meetings they can attend, they know that that's going to make more possible in their business. True. And that's all a video is. But instead of it being, you just don't see yourself at the networking event, right? That's the disconnect, is that we
good
know, right? We know we're not afraid to show up in life because we know what that does for whatever it is we're trying to achieve, but we don't have to see the tape. Sometimes we do, and we're like, oh, I didn't know there was a camera there. But if we can kind of, number one, get over ourselves a little bit and realize, oh, what we're trying to do is tell people about something. We're trying to help someone with our product and our service. And that's why we go out and talk to people and meet people. If we can get to that piece, then I think it makes it a little bit less like, why am I doing this? Which I always think helps, right? Like to get you to why you're doing this. And then I think, and then focusing on that audience member, remembering it's not about you and your hair, your outfit, or my voice is way more high pitched than I thought. It's about the message that you have to send. It's about who you're trying to send it to, and focusing, let the why be more important than the insecurities.
Okay.
And then again,
Well, and I think of when you mentioned, like when you're networking, you're right. We don't see ourselves in that conversation, but you realize all those people doing business with us, they know who we are. They know what we sound like. They know what we look like. So
they know what you wear. They know what you do.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not like you're fooling people and you're behind this screen, right? So if they can accept you, and they do in the real world, why wouldn't they on video?
Right. And there's something to definitely be said for, we don't go to a networking event or a meeting in our pajamas. We, in theory, take a shower and present ourselves or practice our pitch. All of that goes into presenting ourselves on video as well. Mm-hmm. But it's, like I said, the difference is we don't have to look back at the tapes quite literally.
Right. That's really good advice. So all of you listening, listen to that, maybe rewind, listen to that again. So, okay, so we're talking about business. So if we're talking about business, and there's a whole bunch, I know, of different kinds of videos we can make, different places we can put them, how we're going to use them. What would you say are some of the major different categories that we can use in marketing? So we're talking about marketing our business, promoting our business. Where and what are they? So, what kinds are they? What methods are we going to use them in?
Okay, so I always think about this question and relate it to the buyer's journey or the sales, the traditional sales marketing funnel. They're both kind of the same thing. The simplest way to put it is, before someone is going to buy a product, service, or an idea, they have to go from a journey of not being aware of it to being, let's buy it, right? Mm-hmm. So videos are made every step of the way, right? They can be a part of that journey. And just like if you were a salesperson, I like to give this analogy of, if you're an old school traditional salesperson and you make a cold call and you say, hey, I sell window treatments, in that cold call, all you're trying to do is get the person to understand who you are and to take a meeting to learn more about you, right? So that is a quick meeting. You're not going to sit there and say, here's why we're the best, here's the features and benefits of our company, here's why we're awesome. So the same thing goes with your videos. So your awareness videos or your traffic videos are always short videos. And I always think that they should be about your audience and your customer, not about you and your company. So thinking about the problem, thinking about what they're feeling, how they're experiencing the problem, because if you get into that, then they're going to want to talk to you about your solution, right? Mm-hmm. So those videos are always less than a minute, because you haven't earned any more than a minute, right?
Okay.
Those are videos that can go on ads and on social media and just get people's attention. And the goal is to get them to the next step, right? Which might be to a landing page where you're asking for an email to get this 10 checklists, 10 steps or whatever. Right. Or they're going to a website and you have a video on the website that does say, hey, now you're considering us, you're willing to learn more about our company. Here is why we do what we do. We know your problem so well because we have worked with this many clients and we understand it, and you can go a little bit more into your why. Then another video might be, and that can live right on the homepage, Donald Miller of StoryBrand. I don't know if you're an advocate of him, but it's the same thing, right? The grunt test for the, here's what we do, here's how we solve the problem, here's what that looks like. And then people, again, now they're in that consideration part of the funnel or the middle of the buyer's journey. So they're thinking, okay, well, now I want to learn about, is this company credible to solve the problem? Like, what background do they have? How many people have they worked with? What success stories do they have? And those are all different conversations that you would have in a sales cycle or in a marketing funnel.
Right.
And they're all different videos, and they all have a very different purpose. Again, you're not going to tell somebody about, you know, all this experience you have. That's a separate video. Then here's our services. Here's what it costs. Here's why it costs what it costs. Here's what you get. That's another video on a different page, right? That's on a services tab. So simply, just the tabs on your website, the landing pages can start to help you organize what videos you should make.
Okay.
Any blog post that you've written easily could have a video component. Any social media post you have could have a video component. So it's just thinking about, you know, what the goal is of each of those content strategies or those things you're creating on the web or in email, and then how can I use video to just pour gasoline all over this.
Love that. No, that's excellent, because really what I'm realizing and hearing you say is it's the same thing. Like if I'm writing content for somebody, it's the same thing. You don't take your, you know, one paragraph on your homepage and say everything. It's not like that show up and throw up kind of mentality. It's, you still go through steps, and you don't have 12 calls to action on every single piece. You have one, and you're, and it is, you're going on this journey. So that makes a ton of sense. And I like the thought of each different place, when you want them to do something different, can have a different video. And it's essentially your messaging that you already have, but it's pouring gasoline on.
That's right. And I got to give credit where credit's due. I heard Todd, oh gosh, I'm going to have to remember that. He gave the gasoline analogy, but like, Todd Hartley, a video marketing mastery or something, he came up with that, but it's exactly what it is.
Well, and that's a very visual, right? We instantly get a visual of that. So I think, you know, as far as there's going to be so many takeaways from this, but I think that's what, besides the getting over yourself, I think this is the other one. There's different places for different videos. And it's not like we go to Beth and say, okay, I want that video, like one video, like make me one video and it has everything, because that's not how real marketing and sales works in the real life anyway.
And prioritizing is really important too, because when you start to realize, yes, you could put it everywhere. Well, let's just think about what your marketing goal is this month, or what it is for the quarter. You know, how many videos do you actually, or how many strategies can you really implement at once? Then you're going to see like, okay, you know what our biggest issue right now is? It's not, we are doing a ton of proposals and we are not closing business. Okay, so maybe you need some more objection videos. Maybe you need some case study videos to include with your proposals, so that, you know, people aren't sticker shocked and people aren't, you know, they get the social proof they need. Just make those videos today. You don't have to go and make your about us video in this video, or maybe the about us video is the one. Like, prioritizing is really important.
Okay. Thank you for that, because it takes the pressure off, I think, a little bit too. You know, I mean, entrepreneurs struggle, I think, in thinking, I got to do this first, and then I got to do this second, and then I got to do this third. And that's not really necessarily how it works. We all have different priorities. So you've become muted somehow. Okay.
Oh, there we go. Sorry.
There we go. Oh, no problem.
I think that a lot of the issue, like you said, I always look is trying to do everything at once. I'm absolutely fall victim to that. But looking at what is the bottleneck in your business, you know, where do you need the most help now? That's a good marketing place to start anyway. Right. And then figuring out, it might be at the end of the funnel. It doesn't mean you start at point A.
Yeah. So I think it's like everything. You're never necessarily done. Even when you're building a brand, you kind of get it to this place where it's ready to push it out into the world. But that doesn't mean, it doesn't mean you touch it every day. I mean, like, please don't do that. But it doesn't mean that you leave it alone forever. Right. And I guess that's the thing that people need to figure out is, you know, if there's a problem, if it's not broken, don't fix it. Right. But if there's places where you could tweak things, or you have one problem, maybe that's a good way to solve that one problem. So that kind of segs into the last topic that I want to dive into real quickly, and that is DIY videos. And that's probably something that as a professional, you're like, oh my God, don't do those, people. However, when I think of all these just things you mentioned, like you could throw one in your email, or you could put a little short one on social media, or you could, you know, tape a testimonial from someone. There's so many different kinds of videos. And so in my mind, whether it's right or wrong, I know because I've done it and I've seen it and I've had clients that do it, people are shooting their own stuff. So could you talk a little bit to that about, like, you know, when it's okay, when it's not okay? Is there any guidance you could give us?
Definitely. And this is something that I've probably done a little bit more of a 180 on when I first started my career. I think because so many people spend their whole careers becoming a shooter and a videographer or an audio person. And coming from the TV world, I worked with these professionals that on a shoot, the only thing they did was audio. The only thing that they did was lighting. The only thing that they did was filming and composition. And now everybody thinks they can be doing all of those things and they don't need no training.
All they need is a phone, right?
Right. We just get this and we're set to go. So I used to fight it. And then what I realized is that actually technology has made so much more possible, number one, but also the people that do the videos, that do the DIY, they're our best customers. They are the people that are wanting to learn about video. They want to understand the medium really in its totality. So we love working with those people. And we also have a course that we do. It's kind of a whole DIY course because we believe that if people just understood a little bit more, they might see a couple of things to answer your question. One, where they can do it themselves. It's not necessarily, I don't think there's a blanket answer that this is an okay video to do by yourself and this is an okay video not to do by yourself.
Okay.
Because video, one of the things about it, Jordan Peele, who did Get Out, I don't know if you ever saw Get Out or Us, he won Oscars for it. He said the best part about film is that it's this giant collaboration, right? You've got a writer and actors and directors and lighting. You have all these people working together, which I kind of alluded to earlier. You've got story and music. It's all these things coming together as one. So as long as you first understand that, and then you can start to see, okay, I can do all of those parts. I can be the director, I can be the on-air talent, I can be the editor, but they are all different jobs and they require a different mindset and thinking and approach. And you know what? I am actually fine to do these 3 jobs, and I don't think I am suited to do this job. Sometimes there's unicorns that can do the lighting, the shooting, the editing, the producing, and the on-air. There's a lot, there's more and more of those today, those YouTube stars. But most of us can write a script and maybe even film the footage. But when it comes to editing, that is their worst nightmare. And so maybe let's find, exactly, you mentioned that earlier. So let's maybe find an editor on Fiverr or on Elance that's going to help you with that, not just because of the quality being not as good as it could be, but the time it's going to take you to do something that's so outside of your skill set. Yeah. So I think that, you know, I think your videos should always, under all circumstances, whether you DIY them or hire professionals, should have high intention in terms of the communication. So there's never an excuse to just pick up your phone and talk about nothing without knowing exactly where it's going to go, exactly who it's for, and exactly what you want your audience to do with the information you're giving them. So that's the one thing I will say is it's never okay to be, those are the things that make us cringe and we don't like to look at, you know, is when people aren't giving it any thought and rambling or, you know, what that ever looks like. Then the other thing is there are really basic things we can do that make a big difference in terms of these things that make it more visual, right? Just like when we, back to my analogy of we don't go to a networking event in our pajamas, we shouldn't do a video in a noisy area. We shouldn't do a video with a weird composition where our head is like right here. We shouldn't do a video where the lights are off and there's tons of shadows on our faces. There's a couple of things that we can learn about DIY shooting to make our product a little bit better. So I think it's a long way to answer and it doesn't directly answer it. It's DIY, just like anything DIY it's very multifaceted. So if you're going to DIY it, you've got to understand the whole production process first. And then, yeah, do what you can on your own. And if you're one of those people that can do everything, great. Most of us aren't. I can tell you for myself, I'm fine scripting. I'll script anytime. I will do some of my own shooting. Editing, I can get to like 75%. And then always, always, always hire an editor to finish.
Get help. Okay.
Always.
I think that's a good point too, is knowing too that it can be a collaboration and it doesn't have to just be all on my own or all produced
Right.
by someone like Beth, right? Like
Right.
there's, give and take. And I'm really interested, we'll share the information below in the comments when we post this about how they can get your course, because
Yeah.
that I think is fascinating. And there's so many people in that space that want to learn, even if they learn enough to then say, man, I just really decided I was 50-50. I thought maybe I wanted to learn a little bit more so I can do all my own video. And what I learned is I don't want to. So that's okay too, right? To learn enough about it to realize I don't want to learn any more about that. That's not something, that's not my wheelhouse. It's not going to be, because I have other important things to do. And as entrepreneurs, we just keep adding to the pile, right? Of things we need to do. And everyone should be able to edit, because they just do that. But it doesn't mean that it's worth your time. It doesn't mean it's enjoyable either.
No,
right?
And we're all different, right? Some of us like to cook, some of us don't want any part of cooking. Same thing with editing, right? And I think that's why we actually did the course. And it is, I will say, of our students, it's half and half. It's half the people are like, absolutely not. How do I hire you? I'll call you later when I can hire you. Or we just want your editing services. Mm-hmm. And I think that the other thing is that when we have clients that want to hire us for the full service thing, I still recommend they go through the course, because being educated buyers is really important. And I think a lot of us don't know, because video is fairly new to the market. I mean, I started my career in 2006 and cameras were $80,000. I mean, we were laying to tape. It was not an everyday consumer type thing.
Right.
So, people that went into video, like I said, they studied it, they knew it. And this is something that is, the medium is very complicated. Like I talked about, there's writers and editors and shooters, and it can scale up and scale up and scale up. So if you can start to understand a little bit more about why it's so powerful, then you can be better informed to buy from a videographer and know what a production company is charging you and why they're charging you. And if you really need to buy it, you can shop better, you can get the right resources. I think that's my biggest goal too with that course, is just, listen, if you're going to do video, learn as much as you can so that you're in the driver's seat and not at the whim of the production companies or the freelancers that are pretending or overselling themselves as production companies and that sort of thing.
Right. Thank you. That's a very good point. And I think that's maybe a good place to leave this, because it's that thought of being an informed buyer and being an informed consumer, and knowing what all your options are, and then finding people that you trust, and then trusting that they're also going to give you the right kind of advice. So I think that's great. I think we could talk all day. We may have to have you back, because I think
I'd love to
get a lot of questions. But
it's my favorite topic. So
yeah, she will talk video. Okay, so what I want to do right now is just kind of a little lightning round, and these are 5 questions, and you may answer them quickly. And number 1 is, what are you reading right now, business or personal?
I am reading a personal book called The Rose Code about World War II. It's very interesting. And about how women cracked some of the German code in England. And then my professional book is Don't Split the Difference. Never Split the Difference, which is a negotiation book.
Oh, interesting. I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll list these too. Okay. Next is Clubhouse or video? Which do you like better?
They're apples and oranges. And I will say that in Clubhouse, I don't know a ton about it, is more audio, right?
Yes, it's only audio.
Yeah. Okay, so audio is a multitasking thing. I can walk the dog. I don't have a dog, but I can mow the lawn, I can do the dishes. In fact, I don't do any of those things without having some sort of podcast on. Video requires your 100% engagement. So you have to think about that piece of it, right? Like, you need somebody to sit down and not be walking the dog and not do anything to really get your video. You're going to make more of an impact from a communication standpoint, but you're asking a lot more from a attention piece, right? From a time piece. So video is a little bit harder to sell than a podcast or what Clubhouse is. Also, one last thing I'll say about that is I think it depends on the personality too. What kinds of stories you want to tell? Are you more of audio and just that kind of medium? Does that sound more fun to you, or does the video medium light you up and kind of doing it that way? I think that's a better question when it comes to making a decision for yourself and your company.
Interesting. That's good. Okay, cool. All right. TikTok. Are you a fan or not?
Big fan. Big fan. Big fan.
I would have guessed that, but I'm not sure because I think people somehow TikTok seems to be a very polarizing thing, like love it or hate it kind of a thing.
Any communication, like there's all kinds of stuff on TikTok, but it makes what I've learned about, I'm a big cook. What I've learned about cooking on TikTok, dancing, like there's just so many. It just uses video to make things happen super quickly, for like just make messages sent super quickly. I just love it for that.
And it's fun. It just feels like it's just
Definitely.
fun. We all need a little more fun, right?
Yeah.
Okay, what's the last picture on your phone?
I need to look.
I don't know if you don't know, you can look.
I can look. We just got back from a trip. So it's my son looking out at a plane, my 1-year-old son looking out at a plane for our, we were at the airport getting ready to head back from the Outer Banks.
Nice. Okay. And lastly, what's your superpower?
My superpower is finding your story and hearing a couple things about, asking you a couple questions and listening to who you are, and I connect all the dots and I could make it into a movie.
Perfect. Love that superpower. That's one of my superpowers too. So
yes,
we're right there together. That's perfect.
Marketing for sure.
Beth, thank you so much for being here. Like I said, we could talk forever. This has been very helpful. And there's several things that I think are the nuggets and takeaways, which I'm even going to pull out and post beneath this. So we will also post underneath this video all the ways that you can get in touch with Beth so that you know that. But real quickly, just kind of tell us where you're at as far as website and social.
Okay. So mainstreamvideoproduction.com. And then we have we're on Facebook a lot. We are on LinkedIn a lot. Those are the big things. Mainstream Video Production on Facebook. Every week, though, on mainstreamvideoproduction.com/blog, we have a brand new video about video. So we launch a video giving a tip about video, how to think about buying video, experiences with our clients, what videos they're doing. That's totally free. And then we have the Video Marketing 101, which is our course. And then, we do full service production, we'll take care of everything for you. So those are the ways you can find us and figure out what you need from us.
Awesome. That sounds great. Well, thank you and hope we talk again soon.
Yes, thank you. It was so fun. I really enjoyed this. Anytime.
Thanks, Beth. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.